Hi, welcome back. I'm Ivy Lee, and this is the director and creator of the film Anti-Samaritan Hotline. Tad, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Excellent. I'm really happy to be here. I can hardly talk. Got a little throat problem with the transition from LA weather to New York weather.
New York. Tell us a little bit about your film.
Well, Anti-Samaritan Hotline is the tagline on the poster and the website is a comedy about death, despair, suicide, and sadomasochism. So it's a dark comedy. It probably veers a little more towards the dark than the comedic, but it's about a man whose life is kind of falling apart, and he turns for help to the Anti-Samaritan Hotline. And the Anti-Samaritan Hotline is a suicide hotline that's designed not to talk you out of killing yourself, but to give you advice on the best ways to kill yourself.
Awesome.
The original idea is based on a song that my brother, who did all the music for the film, co-wrote with a friend of his in England that was called ASH, the initials, that basically in the middle of the song there's some dialogue that comes on that was the two of them doing the person calling and the person who's the operator. And the centerpiece of the film is a phone conversation between this person who's calling and the operator who's giving him the advice on how to kill himself. And I took that, I loved it, I thought it was just rife for being a short film. So then I took that, there's no context in the song for what this call is all about, it's just this conversation. So I took that and I created a character around that conversation, tried to think, where is he coming from, what's caused him to make this phone call, and then what happens after.
Sounds like a very interesting premise. Sounds great. Who do you think your audience would be for this film, and what would you like them to take away from this film?
Wow, that's a quite a really interesting question, because Alan, one of the directors of the film festival, and I met him the other night for the first time, and I introduced myself as the director of Anti-Samaritan Hotline. He said, "Oh, you're the director of the challenging film." I felt like when I submitted, when I found Cinekink, I thought this was, of any festival that I knew of, this was probably the perfect home for it. But even here, it's maybe a bit of a challenge for people. So I'm not. It's a tough one to pin down who my audience is.
As a compliment.
And I took it as one. I took it as a very high compliment, actually. So.
And what did you have to personally go through to get your baby made here? You know?
Well, I spent several months working on the script, and there are a lot of personal elements. You know, every script that I work on, I pour some of myself into it. So once I felt the script was ready, then I just started. I work doing primarily right now. I'm working doing production sound for a living and some post-production audio. So I'd spent 3 years working on film crews and networking, and so I started assembling a crew of my favorite people that I'd worked with. My DP, my director of photography, was someone who I'd worked with on a couple of films. We'd become good friends, and he had just shot Halloween 2 for Rob Zombie, and Crank 2 that had just come out in theaters, and so he was willing to shoot my film as long as I could wait for him to come back from shooting Halloween 2 for Rob Zombie. And I said, okay, I'll make that. I'll wait a couple months to shoot, you know. But pretty much all my crew volunteered, worked for free, because they were doing it as a favor for me as friends. And then I did most of the post-production myself, editing, sound design, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a really fun journey. You know? I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Tell us a little bit about your cast and what you were looking for in the cast, and what would they like to work with?
Okay, of everybody in my cast, there was only one person that I didn't know before. I kind of knew who I wanted to be in each role. It's a fairly small cast, but the main character was the one spot that I couldn't quite fill. I had someone in mind, and he read the script and it was like, not quite the material for me. It was a little too challenging for him. So I had to cast that main role, and I had a friend who is at AFI, which is where I went to school, who's currently there, and I was telling him what I was looking for, and he said, I think I know the guy. He was in an AFI student film. He's like, there's a guy you should check out. And I did audition a couple of other people, but this guy, Michael Mercurio, my main character, my main actor, sat down, had a conversation with him, and he got the script, got the character, got everything about it, and I was like, this is him. This is my Joan Curtis. So he was the one that it was really my challenge to find. All the others, Michael Schmidt, who plays Slave Jim, I had worked with on a short, and I knew he just loved doing anything as extreme as possible. So he's dressed in a PVC French maid outfit, very large gentleman who should not be in a PVC French maid outfit, but he loved it. He wanted to take it further, and I had to rein him in a little bit. The bartender is Brandon Barrera, who is a good friend of mine, and it's a small role, but he was really, really happy. He did great with it, knocked it out of the ballpark. The main, hotline operator is a guy named Art Sue, who was the main antagonist in Crank 2, Jason Statham chasing him around. He's carrying the heart in the cooler for most of the movie. And I'd worked with him on a film, so he agreed to be the voice of the hotline operator. So we never see Art, but he does an amazing job. And then the character of Mistress Mayhem, who's the girlfriend of our main character, is an old friend of mine, Laura Lee, also known as Goddess Leanne. She's a pro dom, and I contacted her when I was getting ready to cast the film, and I asked her if she'd be in it, and she was more than happy to, and she did an amazing job. She looks gorgeous. She'll be here tomorrow, and so yeah, that was my cast.